But let's move into the main event of the podcast, Mock Draft 6.0. We are going to break this down into 4 segments, 4 pieces. We're going to go 1 through 10, then 11 through 20, 21 through 30. You've been here before. That's what we typically do. And then for round 2, we're going to do round 2 in one whole segment, and then we're also going to recap everything that happens and our final thoughts in those 4 segments. If you're watching on YouTube, there's going to be more segments if you're just watching 1 through 10. So definitely check out the rest of the 6.0 mock draft. If you're watching full on YouTube or listening to the full thing on iTunes, welcome. Strap in, sit back, and relax. It's going to be fun. Let's jump into it. Ricky Widmer, take us through your 1 through 10, and then explain your trades after the picks are made.
So we'll start off number 1, the Phoenix Suns. They're going to stay, and they're going to take DeAndre Ayton. Then the Kings at 2. They're going to take Marvin Bagley. Then our first trade, the Mavs move up with the Hawks. They're going to take Michael Porter Jr. at 3. The Bulls then move up to 4. They're going to take Mo Bamba at 4. The Hawks moving back to 5. They'll take Jaren Jackson Jr. The Clippers then move up to 6 to take Luka Doncic at the 6th pick. Grizzlies move back to 7 to take Wendell Carter Jr. Cavs take Trae Young. Knicks take Kevin Knox. 76ers take Mikal Bridges. So there's a lot of trading between 3 and 7.
If you found that hard to follow, it's okay. We're going to run through all of the trades.
And here they are.
Still going to be hard to follow.
The first one's going to be the Hawks and the Mavs.
Hold on one second there, Ricky, because I feel like in order to really explain these trades, we need to get in the mindset of what you bring to the table. So just give me one quick second there on this one.
For our audio listeners, I'm getting a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, he's gonna rock the tinfoil.
So I don't even think
true
this
Ricky
is
style.
the one.
Nice addition, Dave.
I think the Hawks, my Hawks Mavericks one isn't even my tinfoily one. But Hawks Mavs doing a switch of 3-5. But here's what they're getting: the Hawks are going to get Wesley Matthews, the 5th pick, and then next year's first round pick from the Mavericks, where the Mavs get Kent Bazemore and the 3rd pick, but they also get Michael Porter Jr. with that 3rd pick.
And the thought process is that Wes Matthews has 1 more year on his contract. Bazemore has 2 more years.
Do the Hawks fans at least free up comment section? Bazemore has always been a guy that has been linked in trade rumors. Why not get rid of him in this deal?
Bazemore's also less money than Wes Matthews.
Exactly. The Grizzlies then, they're going to get Bobby Portis, the 7th pick, and a future top 10 protected Bulls pick. Bulls get the 4th. So, I mean, this is one where the Grizzlies, to me, let's go and add although he's not like a 28-year-old veteran, let's add someone who's been in the league that can help us win now a little bit.
Where does
and
he
the
play?
Bulls want to get Mo Bamba. He plays at the 4.
But how does he help this team?
He'd be an energy guy for them at the 4.
I don't see
He's a guy that can, though he's not a sharpshooter, he can nail from the outside. He can play down low.
Better at it.
He's going to be a good pro for the Grizzlies. Bulls get the 4th. They take Mo Bamba. And then the Clippers, this is the big one. They're going to give up Tobias Harris back to the Magic. And then the Magic also get the 12th and the 13th. Clippers take Doncic at 6. And then that's all my trades for the top 10.
So the Hawks and Mavs switch, the Grizzlies and Bulls switch, and the Magic and Clippers switch. And again, Ayton, Bagley, Porter, Bamba, Jackson Jr., Doncic, Wendell Carter Jr., Trae Young, Kevin Knox, and Mikal Bridges is Ricky's 1 through 10. And we'll jump into more of the discussion on why the player fits for each team. But Dave, take us through your 1 through 10.
Sure. My 1 through 10 starts off with the obvious one. The Suns taking DeAndre Ayton. At 2, the Kings taking Luka Doncic. 3, the Hawks taking Jaren Jackson Jr. Then I get a little weird. I've got at 4, the Clippers taking Michael Porter Jr. 5, the Mavericks taking Mohamed Bamba. 6, I have the Suns taking Trae Young. Weird. 7, I've got the Utah Jazz taking Marvin Bagley III. At 8, I've got the Cavs taking Colin Sexton. 9, the Knicks taking Wendell Carter Jr. And 10, the 76ers taking Mikal Bridges.
All right. And we want to recap some of those trades as well, Dave.
Well, like for you, I got to lean over for this one because Dave threw it down there.
Threw it down.
How do you put this on? Is that how you wanted your hat?
Yeah, we're just going to rock
it. Like a ball cap?
Yeah, we made it like an old Irish
like the old man hat. All right, so I guess the one that kind of stands out first is the Clippers going up to 4. So that trade is the Clippers are going to receive the 4th pick and Chandler Parsons, while the Grizzlies end up getting Tobias Harris, Pat Bev, and the 12th pick. It's a spicy one.
It's a spicy one.
It's a spicy one. The next trade I have is obviously the Suns taking the leap up to the 6th pick. They're going to get the 6th and they're going to get pick 35, while
From
the
the Orlando Magic, yeah.
are going to walk away with pick 16, pick 31, the future pick from the Bucks, with protections obviously are on there, and the future pick from the Suns, 2019 top 3 protected, and Marquise Chris. So you got to unload. You got to really haul out the train to steal the bank with this one. And then obviously the Utah Jazz being the third one there. The Utah Jazz are going to go and get pick number 7 and Cristiano Felicio. And the Chicago Bulls will receive pick 15, Alec Burks, and a future first-round pick, lottery protected, and then another future first round.
No
from
protections.
From the Utah Jazz.
And we'll talk about that trade because I know Bulls fans are like, why are we trading back? Why are we trading out of the top 10?
It's situational, baby.
There is a lot of moving parts in Dave's trades. But anyways, let's go to my mock draft 1 through 10. Suns, the big thing I want to do, I want to preface though, is I'm drafting if I was the general manager. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at future needs, I'm looking at scheme fit, and I'm looking at potential of the players. And I'm also not predicting who's going to go where on June 21st. I'm trying to be right. So when you look at this in the next 5 years, you're like, oh yeah, this guy knew what he was talking about. Or you'll look at this in the next 5 years and say, okay, this guy's an idiot.
I mean, I think we look pretty credible with our tinfoil
Of course. So
Dave still has
I'm a
it.
rocket.
and of course I'm going to go away from that whole thought process because I think Luka is the safest pick in this draft. I think he should be going number 1.
Yep.
But Suns, with DeAndre Ayton coming out and saying he's the number 1 pick, he's not working out for any other teams. Ryan McDonough, way back earlier in the season, saying they're taking DeAndre Ayton or they're interested in DeAndre Ayton. I think the Suns are going to take DeAndre Ayton at 1. Then at 2, the Kings go Luka Doncic. Then the Hawks go with Jaren Jackson Jr. Then at 4, the Grizzlies go with Michael Porter Jr. Trade alert here, the Bulls trade with the Mavericks and take Mo Bamba. The Magic at 6 take Trae Young. The Mavericks at 7 from the Bulls take Marvin Bagley III. At 8, the 76ers take Mikal Bridges. At 9, the Knicks take Wendell Carter Jr. And then at 10, the Cavs take Miles Bridges. And here are the trades for you. For the first one, we'll do the Bulls one. So Mavericks receive the 7th and 22nd pick. That was the pick that the Bulls got from the Pelicans. And the Bulls received the 5th pick. Pretty straight up on that one. And then the other one is the 76ers receive the 8th pick. Cavs receive the 10th pick, 38th pick, and 39th pick from the 76ers because the 76ers have a ton of capital. And I think it's going to be an easy flip right there. So nothing too crazy.
I feel like you're missing something.
Yeah.
But it's not too crazy.
I feel like you're missing something now.
I feel like you got to join. You got to own up to it, Sean.
I will be, at least in, what's it called? Camaraderie?
Yeah.
I will at least
I mean,
in
if you don't take
camaraderie
draft advice from these 3 guys, I don't know what GM wouldn't.
Now this is a picture for the thumbnail.
Yeah, so
All
we
three of us
want to
with
give
tinfoil hats.
let's give a 5-second pose. Okay, perfect. All right, so that was our 1 through 10. People are gonna be like, "What the
I love
fuck
how
did we
audio
stumble upon?"
listeners are probably going to be
they're
like,
so
oh
confused.
my God, did it end? No, it didn't end. We just stopped for...
But let's jump into this. All right, let's talk about some of these picks. Let's talk about some of these trades. The first one, obviously, we all have Suns taking DeAndre Ayton. I don't think there's too much to argue about it. Suns aren't moving back.
Even he called it.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point.
Ayton called it. He's not working out.
Got to call your shot, man.
Is there anything else we need to say about the Suns, at least with the DeAndre Ayton pick at number 1?
Unless, the only thing I can think about is, unless this is him going, yeah, I did well enough to be number 1, and then they surprise us and go, nope, Luka's number 1.
But what do you think, like, percentage-wise, Dave, what do you think that's going to happen? Or is it 100% for DeAndre?
It's like 99.95.
Okay. And would you agree with that?
I'd say I'm going 95% DeAndre. Okay. I'm still giving a 5 for Luka.
That's a lot.
And
That's a
I know.
lot.
I'm giving a 5 for Luka.
And one thing I've come around, at least, again, I know I was talking about future needs. If I'm picking for the Suns, I'm picking Doncic. But for the Suns, it also does make sense. They want to be able to bash inside with Ayton and then spread out. Use Bender on the outside, Josh Jackson on the outside, clearly Devin Booker on the outside. And there's talks that they even love Trae Young. So they're trying to move up, use some of the capital that they have accumulated and try to get Trae Young. Talk about massive spacing and then talking about DeAndre Ayton dominating inside. It's going to be something that, again, if they're able to make the right pieces fit, it's going to be something that does work. So I think Ayton does fit. I like Doncic better, but Ayton, it seems pretty damn clear that he's the number 1 overall pick here. For the Kings, though, Luka, for me, you have them going with Marvin Bagley, and Dave, I believe you have them going with Luka as well. So what's the idea with the Bagley pick there, Ricky? Because Doncic, again, we think he's the best player available, and he fits into the system, brings a secondary ball handler behind De'Aaron Fox.
Well, for me, Doncic wasn't even in the equation. It was either Bagley or Porter Jr., and that's only because I know there are reports. They're not for sure written in stone, but I'm going to stay true to the reports that we talked about in a past podcast that both the Hawks and the Kings were going to pass on Luka. Yeah, they could be a smokescreen, but I'm going to buy into it. And for me, it was, what do they go with? Do they go with Porter Jr., who was very impressive, apparently, to the Maverick scouts that were there, or do they go with Bagley? I'm still sitting there going, yes, I could go Michael Porter Jr., but I can fit Bagley in with this backcourt a little bit better. So I'm going with my original pick of Bagley to the Kings just to put into that front court and just fit him in next to a Willie Cauley-Stein.
But the one thing is, I mean, David, and we talked about this a lot, is they took Scale recently. They took Harry Giles, and Harry Giles coming back off of an injury, and they're saying he looks really impressive. I mean, do you understand the Bagley fit? Do you understand the Bagley fit, or is it clear to your mind that they should be going Doncic and anything else would be a mistake?
I think the idea that you can't have too many good players on a team in one position is kind of a fallacy. Like it's just not true. You can stack up with great players because spacing in this game, I don't want to go all Danny Ainge and positionless basketball, but that's where we're going. So having another guy out there who in Luka, who is 6'8", who can ball handle like a point guard, who has the good size, good shot creation for himself and for others. Like, I don't think that crowding a backcourt or maybe extending out your 1, 2, 3 and just having 2, 3 wings, whatever position it is. I don't think that's a problem. The one thing I will give you about Bagley is he's a high energy guy. They can really roll up tempo with that group. Willie Cauley-Stein runs the floor. You got the great set of guards. I don't think that's a huge concern. But my thought then goes to the, what do you do with someone who you've been hyping up in Harry Giles coming in? Like, he is the guy who they expect to take the step and be the guy. But at the same time, I mean, you're saying why invest in a guy who's already got 2 bum knees?
Well,
take
and
the guy who's a sure thing.
An insurance policy as well. I mean, maybe you don't trust Scale, and then if Willie Cauley-Stein doesn't stay because his contract's coming up soon, then you have Scale, Harry Giles, and then Marvin Bagley. If you take him, at least it's your three. Your 3 rotations of the 4 and 5. Well, and again, Bagley possibly could turn into a center. Well, we really don't have a position.
He's got
for
the
him.
Physical tools to get better defense too. Right now, I know he's atrocious, but it's not like there is the ability to get better. At least it's not hopeless.
Well, and the thing about Luka to the Kings, and this is something that the Suns, the Kings, I would say even the Hawks, maybe even the Grizzlies, maybe even the Mavericks all have to kind of go down to. And this is why, for me, the Clipper trade makes sense also. Is he going to want to come over and play in Sacramento, play for the Kings?
For Vlade?
With
or Bogdanovich?
If you're a team that's a bottom feeder and you're in a smaller market, is that going to be appealing to Luka, who, there's nothing either way if he's going to for sure come or for sure stay. There's still that choice, chance, though.
You're in California. So, I mean, your market is really dependent on how well you're doing.
But if
you're building a winner, the people will come. I mean, there's a lot of floaters that if the Lakers are down, then they're looking for a team. And obviously they're going mostly to Golden State right now.
That if a
but
team
some
like
can
the
migrate to
Kings
Sacramento.
or a team like the Hawks, if they draft Luka, I have a worry of him going, you know what, I'm only 19. I'm going to stay here for a while.
A negative 17% chance of that.
I don't
just
think
saying,
he passes up
there's
this paycheck.
always, like how you said, the 99.9%. I would say that is the same thing for him coming over.
No,
it's almost
literally
for sure,
0%.
But there's a slight chance that he could choose to say, no, I'm going to stay here, even though you have my draft rights.
I'm leaning more towards Dave, just because of the fact that, again, being in America, and this is not to bash on European basketball or any Europeans out there, and Euro basketball in general, but the difference between being an American superstar and a European superstar is millions and millions of dollars. I mean, we see it consistently. And if he's able to secure big brand deals like Nike and be able to push that towards an American market and then also be able to still pull European influence. I mean, let's look at what Dirk was able to do coming over.
Look what Giannis is doing. Like, all of Greece.
Exactly.
I mean, loves this man. And he gets voted in for everything.
There's a thing where you're still going to get that support from overseas. Yeah. If you come over, you're still going to be able to make a ton of money.
But could it also be a Ricky Rubio situation of, I don't like the team I'm drafted by? That's why
maybe, but we don't know that. I mean, he's got to be drafted by the Kings.
And that's what I'm saying. The Kings and the Hawks,
fine.
those would be teams I would be a little worried that he might stay.
Well, but I mean, again, it's all dependent on the actual interviews, which we're not conducting. So we'll have to see. But we do want to move on to the third pick because, Ricky, you do have a trade. Mavs moving up with the Hawks. The trade, again, is Hawks get Wesley Matthews, the 5th pick, and the 2019 Mavs pick. The Mavs get Kent Bazemore and the 3rd pick. Why do the Hawks move down in your mind? What's really the reason why this change does happen?
Well, because for me, if I'm the Hawks, you're really here getting. You're doing it's not a huge move, the Wes Matthews and Bazemore, but really it's you get a future first. And for the Hawks, for me, I think they could go Mo Bamba or Triple J. So if I'm the Hawks, I sit there and go, you know what? At the time I'm making this trade, the Grizzlies are there. Yeah, if they go Triple J, I'll just take Bamba. If Bamba gets picked, I'll take Triple J. And it's kind of like I'll take whatever 4 or 5 is left over to me, whatever big man's left over to me, and I get that future pick from Dallas. And with Dallas moving up, this is just from everything with reports saying that their scouts, the people that they had at MPJ's workout yesterday, basically, that they were really impressed. So I'm looking at that going, if you're really impressed and you have the option to move up to get them, you move 2 picks and are up 2 picks and get them, why not do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing where I kind of understand you're at least going towards the future, but even with the Mavs is why do they need to pull the trigger to move up, Dave, to get a Michael Porter Jr.? Is Michael Porter Jr. going to change this team so dramatically where Jaren Jackson, a Mo Bamba, a Luka Doncic won't at that 5th spot, at least looking at Ricky's mock draft, because you're also giving up that 2019 pick. So if you're not holding on that future capital where you're not able to build around Michael Porter Jr., you're not able to build around Dennis Smith Jr., will you be able to have enough? Is Harrison Barnes enough? Are the players that are still on this roster enough to really take this team to the next step?
So the upside of Ricky's deal is if you believe Michael Porter Jr. is worth not waiting to see what lands and what comes to you, 100% agree to that, because he could be the best scorer in this draft. He could be one of the best, most polished offensive guys in this draft. So I don't know that you have to have like a grave concern about that. It's the health. And if you pass all the physicals and all the doctors say, look, he's going to be good to go for the next 15 years, no problems. Like, it's very hard to pass up on that. Yes, you're giving up future allocations, but the Mavs are a team where they're going to go find some, either a journeyman in the NBA or some D-Leaguer, G-Leaguer, and get them to play meaningful minutes at a decent rate for them. I trust in their coach. I trust in their schemes. I think that, yes, he could be impact-wise, greater impact than any other player available except for one. And that sort of thing for me is I think that they are kind of toss-up. Either if Michael Porter falls, great. If Bamba falls, great. Either one of them to that Mavs team, I feel like they're 1 and 1A.
What about Luka, though? Because Luka's still available for him.
That's what confused me the most. But at the same time, like, I would have taken Luka. So why but that's me. That's not everybody.
Why did the Mavs pass up Luka?
Well, for me, it's the thing of part of it was playing into like the report I saw that their scouts, and they used the quote, very impressed with MPJ. And
but
also,
you don't believe that could be a smokescreen?
And like I said, it can be. Yeah. But for me, I'm looking at it also of like, if this is a guy, and yes, if the medicals clear out too. If the medicals don't clear out the one that the Bulls did, then why would you make this deal? But this is a guy that they went from, oh, he's a top 5. Then it's like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, oh, like we see, oh, he could fall to 7 and below. Now he works out and everything's going like, oh, he's a top 3.
What if the scouts said they were pretty impressed, not very impressed?
Well,
or what about
pretty impressed?
He was impressive.
Yeah, like if it was any of
you're
those,
reading very high into this word.
He wasn't extraordinary.
That's why I'm like, what adjective would really sell you on like that?
If someone were to say, like when you say extreme, like, and if it wasn't in quotes, then it would get me. No, it's serious.
I know. That's why I wanted to know.
If I come up to you and I go, yeah, I was impressed with that, you'd be like, okay, Ricky liked it. If I said I was pretty impressed, you'd be like, all right, Ricky liked it. But I said, dude, this really impressed me.
But
or
he didn't
extremely
say that.
Impressed me.
They said pretty impressed. They didn't say dude.
No, they said extremely impressed. So if it's like...
But they didn't say dude.
That's one thing where it's like, it could be a smokescreen, but it seems like they're interested. And with the Mavs, I would go ahead and pull that trigger. Because if he's going to be a top 3 guy... Yeah, you could take Mo Bamba, but in mind the Bulls could trade up and take him. So really, with who can trade up and potentially get Bamba,
so you're thinking you're trying to best to secure the guy. Don't be like the Knicks last year, who waited to see whoever fell.
Exactly,
and still
exactly.
So you're trying to outbid the Bulls.
Yeah, and that first rounder to me, that 19 could be protected. I'm assuming it's going to be like a protected, and then it
like
moves
top 5,
on.
top 10.
Yeah, top 5, top 10, maybe even top 3, whatever they want to put in, whatever you want to put in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just with Michael Porter Jr., I think that this is a kid who again
he's the anomaly this year.
He's a massive anomaly, and people keep saying if he's healthy, if he's healthy, if he's healthy.
And now we're hearing healthy.
I was gonna have that he was gonna be a 2 just because I think he's healthy, and I've consistently said that he was the best player before he got injured. In this draft, I waver too much. I don't really know. I don't get a solid feel. I haven't seen him play. I don't have the ability to put him at 2. That's why I don't have the ability for a team trading up to him. If he falls to the Grizzlies at 4, where I have him falling to, that's where I think he's going to end up. But a team trading up, putting up that many assets, two first round picks, and then the Wes Matthews Kent Bazemore thing doesn't matter, but 2 future firsts. That's something that can turn into those are 2 starters for you. Where Michael Porter Jr. in the next 3 years, if his back doesn't hold up, could be out of the league.
Unless Dallas tries to hit it in free agency and either this year or next year go after those free agents.
But still, I'm saying if Michael Porter Jr. still doesn't pan out, you're still losing 2 first round picks.
That's
what I'm saying.
I mean, it's a question mark.
I'm not saying Dallas could be screwed, for the future from this.
And right now, I'm making that decision off of the medicals look good, and if they don't, then obviously this wouldn't happen. But right now, the medicals look good. I'd make that deal because most of their contracts too come up at the end of this year, so they could be big players next year with a Dennis Smith and Michael Porter Jr.
Well, Dave. Jesus, we agree. Podcast is an full force. At the third pick, we both have the Hawks. Caught me off guard too. I don't know why I said Dad. Dave, at least in the We Agree podcast, we do have the Hawks. Weirdly enough, going with Jaren Jackson Jr. staying home and picking the forward out of Michigan State. What are the thought process? Why does he fit?
Ain't broke, don't fix it. He is one of the most impressive young kids in this draft. I think, honestly, the defensive presence down low, the fact that he can switch all the way down to threes and guard them out in the perimeter is incredibly impressive. Yes, if you pump fake, he will jump. He needs to get the control down.
He's young, he'll learn.
That's the thing. Defensive IQ is there. He is super eager to learn. He played under one of the best coaches in college basketball. His offensive game, we got to see a little bit of, and I honestly think he's a guy who can take a huge jump at the NBA level. I don't think he's your number 1 offensive weapon, but I think he comes in above expectations.
Well, and I think this is a team, too, that Atlanta, obviously I think the 2019 pick, if they're taking that from Dallas, that makes a lot of sense for them. And if Jaren Jackson's still available for them at 5, then this makes a ton of sense for them. But I don't know if he's going to be available there. And I think if you have the guy available that you want and there isn't an offer like that where you're able to get a capital from a team like the Mavericks, for the 2019 pick, I think there's no really risk and there's no reason to move down. And with Jaren Jackson, you look at Lloyd Pearson, what he was talking about when he was introduced as the Atlanta Hawks coach, defense. This is something that, again, this is the best, probably right now, best defensive player in the draft, at least for this position. He's a guy that every metric loves him. BPM.
Every advanced stat.
Absolutely
and then the
loves
pairing
Jaren
of
Jackson.
him and Jan Collins together would just be amazing.
And John is awesome offensively, fantastic. So every what's it called? Every negative about John Collins, Jaren Jackson picks up defensively. So I think that's massive for the Hawks. I think it's an easy fit for the Hawks if they are staying home. So I have the Hawks, and Dave has the Hawks going with Jaren Jackson Jr.
And I had him there right at 5. Same team, same pick.
And why did they pass on him?
Why did
Just
they?
because we're talking about the Hawks and Jaren Jackson right now. Why do they pass with him and you have him going with Mo Bamba?
No, I had him go with Jaren Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh.
And the whole reason was basically
my bad.
I'll take whoever I get, and in my situation, the Bulls like Mo Bamba, trade up to get him, and we can get.
So you just
Jaren
felt
Jackson
like
at 5.
they equally valued Michael Porter, Mo Bamba. I'm sorry, not.
I'm
Michael
taking
Porter,
just Mo or
Yeah.
because to me the center is the thing where John Collins is going to play my 4. Me personally, I would take Bamba or Jaren Jackson. So I'm looking at that going.
So one of them's going to be available?
Yeah, I'll trade to 5. The Bulls or the Grizzlies take one.
I just don't see Dallas giving up the 2019 pick. That's the thing with me. So that's
maybe 2020, just future. But
yeah, I just don't think there's going to be enough for the Hawks to move down. I understand that thought process of he's going to be there at 5, but will the Mavs really want to move up? And I think that's the biggest question. But Ricky, you have more movement at 4. Bulls come up with the Grizzlies and take Mo Bamba. The trade that you have there is Bobby Portis, the 7th, the future top 10 protected first, and the 4th. Now, that's the one thing I want to call you out on, is you're saying, I want this so bad. So, if you're talking about this as a Bulls fan, you have to at least give me solid reasons on why this makes sense for the Grizzlies because, yes, it makes sense for the Bulls. You want him as a fan. You want Mo Bamba. You'll give up pretty much anything you can. So why does Bobby Portis take this team, the Memphis Grizzlies, to the next level, and why do they move down and not possibly get a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., like Luka Doncic especially, who might have the superstar ability to take over after Mike Conley and Marc Gasol?
And put on the hat.
The
because
Doncic
this is a
thing,
moment.
I don't think this is a huge moment, but Sean seems to think it is.
I don't think it's a moment. I think people are going to call you out in the comments for being a Bulls homer, so defend it.
The Doncic thing is easy for me, where if the Sacramento and Atlanta, I saw his markets he'll pass on, he's definitely not going to want to come over to go to Memphis. So that's me, yet again, Grizzlies going, yeah, we could take Doncic, but will he really want to come over to play in Memphis? We're really free agent-wise, unless we really paid out for a Mike Conley that no one else was giving him a big deal, or a Chandler Parsons that everyone's like, oh, he's injured, but we'll throw out a big deal.
Okay, but
that's why I passed on Luka.
What's another thing, though, that they've talked about? What is Memphis' goal?
I just want to go.
Memphis' goal is to make the playoffs, so at least that's going to help them.
And that's exactly where I'm going to, where it's, yes, they could take a Mo Bamba, but Mo Bamba's a 5. They already have Marc Gasol, and they're not moving him. Yes, Jaren Jackson can play the 4, can play the 5, but like Dave talked about when he talked about with the Hawks, he's young. He's going to need to mature, and the Grizzlies want to make the playoffs. So why not add a guy who's in his early 20s, who has been in the league, he's familiar with the NBA. Yeah, he's not in his prime, but he's going to be entering his prime sooner rather than later, and get a future pick out of it too. That's the thing that I'm looking at is let's gain a veteran that can help us, who's been in the league. We'll swap picks with the Bulls, and we'll get a future first out of it.
Okay. But you're talking about Bobby Portis as, again, a guy who's going to be a starter for you. Luka's going to be a starter. Luka can be a leader, and he's 19 years old. And I get it. He might not come over, but we're talking about this being a 5% chance. But again, this is a 5% chance of him not coming over. He's still coming over to an American team. He wants to be able to win. He wants to be able to have players around him. He's going to have a guy in Marc Gasol who made that transition over. He's going to have a team that is really poised to win. I think that is going to be something that helps Memphis at least push their way to getting Luka Doncic. I honestly do not believe that he's not coming over. Are there things that he wants? Yes. Are there things that he's going to bargain for? Yes. But ultimately, he's going to be an NBA player next year. And I think they would be absolutely stupid to not pass, to pass on Luka Doncic. Absolutely stupid. And I don't think it's worth the risk, like the Hawks were at least worth the risk, to trade back and possibly get Mo Bamba or Jaren Jackson, whoever's there. The best fit for Memphis is Luka Doncic, and he's fell into their laps there.
And another thing that this plays into, and why I made the trade for the Grizzlies to trade out, is we've talked about it on a past podcast. They've come out and said they're open to trading this pick to add players that are already here because, like you said, their main goal is to make the playoffs. So with the Grizzlies, I wonder, is it going to be the Bulls? Will it be this exact trade? Probably not. But I feel like for sure they're going to move out of this pick to get a veteran from some team that can help them win now.
Question for you. Do you think Bobby Portis or Luka Doncic would be a better help for them making the playoffs and performing in the playoffs?
Luka.
No, this is a Ricky. I want because it's his pick to defend. Yeah. Your feelings were made very clear.
I know.
I agree with you, but
I think that both could help them in the playoffs. I think that they add differently to where if you get Luka, my question is, what do you do? Like, what do they do at the 4 then? Like, are they adding a free? It depends on who they add in a free agent. Do you take someone later with a later pick, or do you trade in for a later pick?
Chandler Parsons moves to the 4.
Whereas the Bobby Portis one gives you a 4, and you can just have Chandler Parsons plays where he's played regularly when healthy at the 3. So for me, that's why I would take, in this case, I'm taking a Bobby Portis, plus as the Bulls, Bobby Portis has been in trade rumors. So that's why I added
or you go, just small ball and move Tyreek Evans to the 4, or just move around and play position as basketball. I mean, you're going to have. He might not resign, but I mean, you have Chandler Parsons.
Luka's 6'8",
6'8". I think Luka's 6'8"
as well. Yeah.
Tyreek Evans is 6'8" to 6'7", I think, or 6'6".
Might be 6'6", 6'7".
I mean, they have the flexibility to move those guys from the 2 to the 4. Like, I think that, you're really locking in on positions here. Luka's more accomplished than Bobby Portis as a player. He's 19 years old.
And he's played in higher pressure situations.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that, again, no player has done what Luka Doncic has done in the second best professional league in the world. Bobby Portis is known for immaturity and punching his own teammate and breaking his face.
Got that 1-2 punch.
So, I mean, it's something where, again, yes, Bobby Portis has played in the league, but Luka might be more mature than Bobby Portis, even though he's younger. I just want to be able for you to be able to defend your pick of the Bulls trading up, just because I know people know us as Chicago, at least you as a Chicago Bulls fan.
Could care less
I just wanted to be able to sound like it's just not like, hey, I'm a Bulls fan trading up. That's the only reason why I'm at least bashing it and being harsh. If it seems like I'm being harsh on Ricky, that's the only reason why. Just because I want you to be able to at least, because I know you believe that this is a fair trade. That's why I'm saying, again,
Give you
at least
the opportunity.
Yep. Yeah. So, but Dave, you do have a trade. You have the Kloppers, good old Kloppers.
Yep.
Trading up with the Grizzlies. So same idea as Ricky. Grizzlies still moving back, but why does it make it different in your mind? Where the Grizzlies are bolstering their team more and also moving back getting 2 picks.
So for me, it was more about adding more of that proven talent. While Bobby Portis is good, Tobias Harris is better. And then adding in Pat Beverly into this makes it really, really something special, because this Grizzlies team, with the addition of Toby and Pat Bev, goes back to being a legitimate team in the West. Like, I know the West is so deep, and it's going to be, again, the same way next year. But adding in someone who has the playoff experience of Patrick Beverly, who is a lockdown guard, and then you add in Tobias Harris, who can create for himself, was a 1 on a bad team basically, but can be a really good team player, and at the same time, like, he's in his prime. It's everything you want out of that position to fill in with Tobias Harris. Yes, you're moving back much further. You're going to go with the 12th pick instead of the 7th pick. But at the same time, the value you get back in player experience, in my mind, heavily outweighs that.
So why did the Clippers take on Chandler Parsons, though? Because that's one of the worst contracts, if not the worst contract in NBA history.
This gives the Grizzlies a chance to soak up some free agents. And the Clippers right now are in rebuild mode. So I know they were in that weird teeter-totter of
they almost made the playoffs,
We almost made the playoffs, but half our team was injured. So imagine what we could do when we're all healthy. Well, DeAndre Jordan's not going to be back. That's the biggest difference right there. This kind of gives them a chance to reload. You're going to go get Michael Porter Jr., who, again, highest upside in the draft potentially, especially from an offensive standpoint. So go get him. Go get your centerpiece moving forward, and then build around him. You have veterans who have great value for other teams who you can move off. In the meantime, you roll that Chandler Parsons contract, and you're not worried about it because you're in a West, and you look at the timeline of the other teams at the top, and you're like, yeah, by the time Michael Porter Jr. and our next couple picks are ready, we're going to be in business. Our timeline works much better than trying to go up there and be giant slayers and take down this Rockets team, this Warriors team. I mean, it's just, it seems like the smart play to wait it out and set their timeline right.
And the thing I find most interesting about your deal, they only give up one of the two.
Yes.
Like most of the trades that either I've talked about,
and this value-wise, they might need to give up both.
A lot of them have both of them going. So that's the thing I like the most is, hey, we get the 4, but we hang on to the 13, so we still get 2.
That's the question. Is the value there for Pat Bev plus Toby?
And the reason why I think it is just because not only are you getting Toby, who's a better player than Chandler Parsons.
By far.
It's also the contract and the salary relief that you are giving Memphis, because that gives you so much flexibility to add to this team.
They can guarantee Tyreek Evans is coming back at that point.
Yeah.
And then they can look to add another wing to that team.
Well, and it gives you a backup point guard and an extremely experienced backup point guard in Pat Bev. And it's something where Pat Bev, he wasn't healthy last year, but again, if he is healthy, Mike Conley isn't a bill of health, either a clean bill of health. So if Conley goes down, you still have an adequate point guard who could step into your starting lineup.
And he can mix it up between him, Tyreek, and Mike Conley. All three of them can rotate between because they are flexible.
Now, do I think Memphis is delusional, thinking that they can be a playoff team? Maybe. But do I think they can be competitive?
But do you think a lineup of Conley, Tyreek Evans, Tobias Harris... I'm missing a name.
Let me rephrase. Well, you're probably going to throw in Kevin Knox there possibly too, or
right,
because Chandler Parsons is gone. But the one thing that I was trying to say is, do I think that they can be a playoff team? Yes, but I think they're delusional if they think they're going to be competitive next year in the West, no matter the moves they make. But one thing that I want to mention for the Clippers is not only they're getting Chandler Parsons who can't stay healthy, they're also taking a big risk on Michael Porter Jr. trading up for a guy that, again, last year only played 3 games in college.
Absolutely true.
So with the Clippers, I mean, is it the right move or should they be going for someone safer? Why does Michael Porter Jr. make it worth the risk in your mind?
You got to swing for the fences because if you keep building around these mid-level picks in the teens, yes, there's a chance you hit on them. Yes, the occasional the unoccasional Donovan Mitchell thing happens, but more than likely, when you're drafting anywhere after the 10, when you hit the teens, you're getting guys who are, solid starters, role players, have a chance to bust out very rarely, but it does happen. So you go up and you get the guy who can come into this league and drop 20 in his first year. You get somebody who can be a dynamic offensive force, and you're bringing him into a team where the expectations are set where you're not a leader here. You're coming in with a veteran-heavy team, and you can learn from under these guys who have all been there and experienced the NBA. So I think, fit-wise for that team, I think you have a good head coach in Rivers. I think that, honestly, timeline-wise, it makes the most sense for them. He can come in, learn, and then as they start turning over those pieces for other teams who are hunting for those, we just need this guy to set us over the top. They can turn that over in the next couple of years to get more draft picks back.
And that's why the only way I would see the Clippers taking a Chandler Parsons is, like you said, rolling it to where it's like, okay, the goal is to eventually trade you to another team, because the thing I look at is Ballmer, he's a guy that wants developing players, and that's just not Chandler Parsons.
But again, if you have, you're gonna have that contract. You have Danilo's contract. You're still gonna and the one saving grace is that you still got Lou Will for as cheap of a deal as you got him for. But you're still gonna have two bad contracts on that team in Danilo and in Chandler Parsons.
And the thing I want to jump to is I'll bring in with the Clippers is the question for me with them is I feel like they are going to make a trade this draft. It's who do they pick? Do they take a Michael Porter or and I've got the Bleacher Report article. Apparently, Chris Mannix on Yahoo Sports NBA podcast, on his podcast, Sham said that I think there's a lot of fluidity, and he talked about the Luka Doncic trade that the Clippers could trade up for Luka. I think they're going to trade up for someone. It's just going to be who's it for, Porter or Doncic.
And that's one thing is if Doncic is available, you're saying take Doncic. I know you.
Hell yeah.
So, but the thing is Doncic isn't available because you think so highly of him. So Ricky, I'll put you in at least in those shoes, because I know that you have Porter Jr. going a little bit higher, but again, Porter Jr. might fall to 4. You have Luka falling to 6. Those two are on the board for you. Who are you taking and why?
So if they're both
this is for
available
the Clippers.
for the Clippers,
this is for the Clippers.
I would take, if Porter Jr. was available, I would take Porter Jr. only because for me it comes down to the clean bill of health and everything that we have said.
Is it a clean bill of health?
That's really the only thing that worries me.
We
there's
have
no guarantees in life.
It's just a report.
There's never guarantees.
And it's also just a report that he took a physical. No information has come out about what it revealed.
If you're for sure that he's going to pass out medically, he's the guy for me that we talked about at the beginning of the year. He's top 2 pick. So it's he's the one for me to where.
Well, there's always the caveat when healthy.
I know, and that's the only thing of if that passes in your mind, if it does for the Clippers, I would take Michael Porter Jr. But I think this is a question where if you said Doncic, I would say, all right, I can't debate you there, because either one of these guys would be great for the Clippers.
And if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Blog Talk Radio, hit us up at Most Valuable Podcast on Twitter. Let us know if the Clippers do want to trade. At Most Valuable Pod, thank you. On Twitter, if the Clippers are looking to trade up at 4, Porter Jr. and Doncic is available, who would you take for the Clippers? Because Dave and I are on the side of Luka because he is safer. And that's the biggest thing. I think he's got experience and he's safer.
And with the Clippers, notice how I didn't throw out the question of would he come over. If he was drafted by LA, either of them, I'd come over for that.
Oh, yeah,
you're
of
in
course.
LA.
You're in LA. I think the thing is just, again, Doncic is safer. And the thing that scares me with Michael Porter Jr. is he might be the best player in this draft, and he might turn out to be the biggest superstar of this. But also in 3 years, his back can flare up again, and he could be gone. So that's the biggest worry that I have with Michael Porter Jr., where Luka's so safe that I wouldn't pass up the opportunity if I was the Clippers, especially going up against Michael Porter Jr. But let's move into my pick. I have the Grizzlies going with Michael Porter Jr. at 4. Pretty clear cut. Again, I think he still has superstar potential. The Grizzlies still are a team that can take on at least a risk like that in Michael Porter Jr. I feel boring because I don't have the Grizzlies trading out, but I still think if Michael Porter Jr. is healthy, he can be a star. And the one thing that I do want to look at those 2 games, the last 2 games that he did play in college, is the thing I love that he was doing was calling for the ball consistently. Was he 100%? No. Should he be calling for the ball? No. But he wanted the ball. He wanted to be a superstar. And I think the Grizzlies not only set themselves up for the future, they also don't put a ton of pressure on him right away. Yes, this team might look at him and be like, hey, you're going to be you need to help us make the playoffs, but also you're going to be the fourth option behind Tyreek Evans, behind Marc Gasol, and behind Mike Conley. I think that's something that's going to at least be able to, be something where you work him in is very slowly. Maybe he only gets 20 minutes in his first rookie season, but also he's a guy that's going to have, at least crucial 20 minutes. I think that's going to be something that's good for him.
Do you feel like it's like the 20 minutes are more so because of the health concerns? They're going to cap him?
I think they might. I think it'd be smart to cap him.
All right.
Especially if this is going to be your guy that's going to be the future. Maybe if they make the playoffs, they don't cap him.
Yeah.
But at least for the regular season,
we've
they're
seen
going to play
Joel
him.
Embiid was on like the 20, then they got up to 30.
I think they're going to work him in slowly into the NBA. I think one thing too is, hey, maybe if he does show that he's healthy and 100% fine, then, by December, the cap minutes is off. But I think he's going to be a guy that maybe only plays 60 to 65 games in the regular season, only gets 20 minutes per game. But then when we hit the playoffs, that's where you're going to really unload him if they do make the playoffs. I think, again, he's a guy that we talk about his score and we talk about his length. He's a guy that can still add to your team right away. He might be, again, a guy at a fourth option that could turn into your one option down the road. And with his mindset, his calling for the ball, I think he could, hell, even turn into a guy like Donovan Mitchell, where he's just going to take over your team and he's going to end up being the best player in your team year one. But if the health doesn't pan out that way, maybe not. Let's move to 5, though. We have I have the Chicago Bulls, actually, trading up for the Mavericks. I'll talk about this real quick. The Mavericks received the 7th and 22nd. The Bulls received the 5th. The reason I did this is because, again, if I'm the GM for the Mavericks, I'm getting 2 players. And again, this is a team that I think needs players just to bolster around because this is a team with a lot of potential. Harrison Barnes is a really good starter. You look at Dennis Smith Jr., he was one of the best rookies last year. And if I am the Mavericks, I know that the Magic probably aren't taking a big. So I'm either getting Mo Bamba or Marvin Bagley at that 7 spot if I trade down. And I'm also getting the 22nd pick where I can go get another guard to pair with Dennis Smith Jr. And if I'm the Bulls, Marvin Bagley doesn't fit me. Trae Young isn't really a need. Mikal Bridges, he could fit, he could work, but again, Marvin Bagley has more potential. You look at Mo Bamba, has more potential than Mikal Bridges, Wendell Carter, Miles Bridges. So you go up, get Mo Bamba, get a rim-protecting center that can play along with Markkanen, Levine, and Chris Dunn. I think it's a perfect fit for Mo Bamba in Chicago. Ricky, I know you're going to talk about this a little bit.
For me, I was just going to throw out, there are only 2 guys I want in this draft. Where I'd be happy with a Trae Young because I like Trae Young. I'd be happy with a Mikal. He's my safety blanket if we stay at 7. But the 2 guys I want to see in this Bulls draft is I either want to see us trade up for Mo Bamba or trade up for Michael Porter Jr. Get one of those players, move up to get them because neither of them are going to be at 7 for us.
And, well, I think that there's a possibility of him not being there for you, the Mo Bamba, and Dave, you clearly have that going where Mo Bamba goes to the Mavericks at 5.
I say, Sean, you're the one who sold me on if the Mavericks are at 5, you take Mo Bamba. If they're at 3, you take Mo Bamba. If they're at 1, you take Mo Bamba.
Again, I think if you're at 5, you're the Mavericks, and you're not trading out, then take Mo Bamba.
That's my thought was, why pass up on the guy who has the physicals to be one of your key guys to work with Dennis Smith Jr.? You got your 1 year 5 locked down now.
I think Marvin Bagley does, though. Because Marvin Bagley, again, this guy's super athletic. And the athletic ability between Dennis Smith Jr. and Marvin Bagley is going to be absolutely filthy. And the ability to have Dirk Nowitzki pop off and sit behind that 3-point range where Dennis Smith drives, penetrates, and then has rolling to the rim with him Marvin Bagley Jr. And then on the outside, Wesley Matthews and Harrison Barnes. That's a pretty damn good starting 4. Sorry, 5. I forgot how much 4 as in Marvin
Dirk
Bagley.
Still counts.
But again, I think this is going to be a guy that really is able to contribute to you offensively. Yes, he might not be that good defensively, but he's a lot to work with there. And again, I think Bagley's a safer pick than Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba has more potential. So if you're getting a guy that's safer in Marvin Bagley at 7 and you're still able to penetrate and help this team's future at 22, I think that's more important than getting the player that at least probably fits your team best. Because I think Bagley still fits. He's safer, and you're helping your team out at that 22nd. Where I think the Bulls, you're getting a player that, again, has more potential and fits your team better than Marvin Bagley does.
Yeah.
So I think it's a win-win in that perspective.
Well, and that's like what Dave said, where if he's there at 5, that's the whole reason I had the Bulls jump up to 4. Because if the Bulls, in my mind, if they're going to get Mo Bamba, they have to do it before 5. He doesn't fall below the Mavericks. And like, yeah, in mind the Mavericks moved up for Michael Porter Jr., but Hawks would be the same thing. It's like, great, we got to move up for one of them because if he's at 5, the Hawks will then take him at 5. And for me, that's the Bulls and Grizzlies expect that to be a trade that happens on trade night. I'm for sure that it's going to happen when the Bulls trade up for Bamba.
You can't just say for sure. What are you betting?
Oh, he's locking it in.
What are you betting?
For me, I am.
Sean lost a car.
I lost my car.
See, I can't put my car on the line. I don't know what
That's
I would
fine.
put
You
on
drive
the
us
line.
everywhere.
I'll put my tinfoil hat on the line. I love it so much.
No, you can't put the
No,
tinfoil hat on the
no.
line.
I'll put my
It's a
tinfoil
prop
hat
set now.
on the line.
Think about it.
I will. I don't know what I
Mo
do.
Bamba for the Mavericks. Why him over Marvin Bagley? Because you had Marvin Bagley still available.
Straight up fit. I think the Mavericks, they need a 5. They were kind of getting by using Dirk sparingly between the 4 and the 5. And obviously Nerlens Noel experiment did not work out well. And this is a guy who is just basically a better version of Nerlens Noel. Like, worst
Good
case
point.
scenario, you end up with Nerlens with an amazing attitude
Yep.
and someone who's actually got a really high basketball IQ. Everybody loved his interviews. Everything's been super positive about him. And, you know, they, like Ricky bragged about earlier, the shot improvements that he's tried to show since the end of the season during workouts. I think there's a lot to like about him. And fit-wise for this team, like I said, lock down the 1 to 5. You fill in the middle, and he's someone who you can see an excellent pairing with.
I think that's huge too. That what you mentioned is the fact that he's willing to work. He wants
Yes.
to work to get better. And I'm not saying that none of these other guys don't. But again, we've seen this really shine from Mo Bamba, that he wants to work. He wants to get better. I know all these guys do end up wanting to, but there's different levels of this when
Right.
you are a professional. And Mo Bamba, so far at the young age that he is, so far has shined in that ability when we're looking at all these prospects, that he does want to work and he does want to get better. And him coming out and killing it in interviews so far, not only media but also in teams,
Yep.
I think it's huge. So again, I think the Mavericks wouldn't be losing too much going back and getting Marvin Bagley, but if they're staying home, take Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
I just think they don't stay home. I think the Bulls are going to make an offer they can't refuse in that 7 and 22 that they get the guard that they need as well. At the 5, Ricky, you do have the Hawks sitting there.
And
they take Jaren Jackson.
And we already talked about
We talked
Triple
about
J.
it again. Defense, good old Lloyd. Lloyd Pierce, new
Good
head
pairing
coach
with
of the
John
Hawks,
Collins and,
wants defense. Jaren Jackson, probably the best defender right now in this draft, so it makes sense. Let's go to 6. Ricky, the Clippers trade up with the Magic. Our Magic fans are going to absolutely love that. The Magic get Tobias Harris back, the 12th pick, and the 13th pick. The Clippers get Evan Fournier and the 6th pick to take Luka Doncic.
And you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. I got to apologize to Vegberg. Is that who it is?
Magic Vegberg.
I'm sorry, because Doncic is there, and he's like, oh, the Magic, and they don't take Luka Doncic.
Why don't they take Luka Doncic?
Well, the thing is I'm looking at for the Magic is some people might say, well, why are we giving up Fournier? And it's because
Fournier.
you look at it, and he's going to be under contract until 2021, and it's like if I can dump that contract, get a Tobias Harris back, where really I will only have him
Aren't
for
they
the
both
year.
being paid $18 million?
Yeah, well, Fournier is like 17.
Okay, so it's
like
cheaper.
It's a little bit cheaper, but they're in the same ballpark. So really, you're dumping a longer contract for a shorter contract, and really the big thing is Luka going to help us right away, or can I get those? The 2-pick ammunition from the Clippers will really help. Saying, hey, I have a guy that could be done at the end of the year. Give me cap space, and then I can get 2 younger players at 12 and 13. That can help us all the same.
Dave, what do you think about this trade?
I'm dying laughing because I think it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, Ricky. I know you come up with some creative stuff, but the Magic giving up their 2 guard and then getting another 3-4 guy who, I don't know, last I checked, they had a couple of those already.
They had the same guy.
I mean,
They had Toby
Well,
Harris.
they had Toby.
They
but
had Toby.
They don't do so great on that whole player development thing. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but basically they can draft players who are decent, but like they just got to go somewhere else, and then maybe this is the secret. Just bring back next year Victor Oladipo coming back home, filling that 2-guard hole that
Sabonis
he
in
created.
5 years, yeah.
Sabonis, exactly.
Filling the 2 hole that he created.
I'm just saying, unless you can roll it out Jonathan Isaac at the 2 being a 7-footer.
The one thing that doesn't make sense in my mind, my eyes is why are the Magic getting rid of a longer contract?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the one thing that doesn't make sense to me. Why are they getting rid of a longer contract?
For me, it's just
because then they're going to have to pay Toby.
Unless you do that, but it's also, hey, you know what? We're gonna try to. Does anyone want Evan Fournier there long term? Like,
He's a good shooter.
and I feel
he
like
stretches the floor.
And I feel like for the Clippers, it helps
Puts
out
up 17 a game.
because they're getting a guy who, Toby's not
Unless
bad,
they think
but
Aaron Gordon's gone. Do you think Aaron Gordon's gone?
he could, but no, I don't.
Oh,
think
well, then
so.
I don't belong.
Originally, the trade, I'll just say it. Originally, before the whole Doncic report, news, and then other trades that happened, the original thing I was going to have was a Kemba Walker move for the Magic here, for the Hornets then to move up and take Trae Young. But then I went with the Clipper one because, like, the Magic, you get picks, you get to dump that Fournier because it just opens cap room. Guys are gonna hit free agency. We don't develop players that well. Let's go get free agents.
So they're
next year.
going to try to bank on their recruiting pitch of come to the Magic.
Come
I
to the Magic.
literally don't have anything after that.
Disney World's right over there, or Disneyland,
Yeah.
whichever one.
That's
it is.
about it.
That's a hell of a recruiting pitch.
I don't know. It's something where I think I think you're trying to. I think it feels like a little.
You're
bit
trying
of
to
a
force the story.
I think a little bit of a force, but again,
But if Luka's there at 6,
if Luka's there at 6, the Clippers are
Whatever
getting,
the hell they want.
I think the Clippers are getting a steal then.
Yeah.
If Luka's there at 6, you're getting Evan Fournier, who I think is, again, I don't think there's a
Quality
drastic
starter.
Yep.
a drastic talent difference there, especially contract wise.
But can help them out in a more veteran role.
No, he's going to help him out. I think it's a steal for the Clippers because then you put Evan Fournier at the 2. Lou Wills can still come off the bench. You still have 2 capable point guards, and then at the 3 you have Luka Doncic. I think it's just absolute steal for the Clippers. I think the Magic are getting screwed, unfortunately, in that one.
Which sort of would fit the Magic Thor, like how they've done it in the last couple of years.
And now the Magic get a chance though at the 12 and 13 though to take 2 players.
Here's the question I'll ask: Would the Magic feel that and then go add a future first and we're good?
Maybe, but I mean, again, I think the Clippers are going to try
were
to
just
push.
not on that one. Yep,
I
sure.
think the Clippers are also trying to position themselves for a playoff. So you're going to get the 12 and 13 and then like a 22nd or like a 20th in like future rounds. I don't think that's enough for Luka. Or Luka, again, in my mind, I think it's the player that you end up taking.
Yeah.
The fact that you're passing up Luka Doncic, who's a fit for the Magic. I think that's the biggest thing there is that you're passing up a fit in Luka Doncic. It's not really the Fournier Tobias Harris thing. It's just that you're passing up Luka Doncic, a guy who can be a future superstar for you.
But maybe the Magic know that they can't develop players. It's like we don't even.
But he's
want
already
this
developed.
guy. No. He's not developed enough.
He's not athletic.
Put him back in the microwave somewhere else. Like he can just give it another go around and then come back.
I don't know. I mean, he's the safest pick right now, Luka Doncic. You literally can't fuck him up. Like unless you like send him in like on the teacups at Disney World like for a couple times, like a couple hours.
Maybe they know.
Maybe it'll be disoriented.
They know something about him that we don't. That he's a teacup addict. That like if he went to the Magic, he just spent all his time at Disney World. He wouldn't even show up to practice.
He's gonna be eating that Mickey Mouse ice cream.
He's a churro guy.
Could you see him with the ears?
Yeah. Luka's gonna get big. That's all that's gonna happen if he goes to Disney World. But Disneyland, that's different.
So thick Luka?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If he goes to LA, it's different. He doesn't like Disneyland. He likes Disney World. Anyways, at 6, I have the Magic go with Trae Young. I don't think they move. I think you need to go get a superstar. Again, I think Colin Sexton's going to be a better NBA pro than Trae Young. That's my hot take of this whole NBA draft, but I think Trae Young still has more superstar potential. Trae Young at 6, it's an easy fit. They need a guy who's going to be a dynamic point guard. They need a guy who's going to be a superstar for them.
Yeah, we've mocked
Trae
it all
Young's
year.
there. But you kind of have the same thought process, Dave,
Yeah.
for Trae Young, but the Magic move.
And then I said, "Fuck
Like Ricky.
defense." That's what that's what's going on here.
So
The Suns.
The Suns trading up.
The Suns
trade that you
swinging
have.
the colossal trade bat of all the picks that they can muster up.
The Suns get picks 6 and 35 from Orlando. Magic get picks 16, 31, a future pick from the Bucks in 2019, which was from the Eric Bledsoe trade. Then the future pick from the Suns in 2019, top 3 protected, and Marquise Chris. That's a big haul there.
And it might not be enough. They might have to throw in another, like a 2021 from the Heat.
It's pretty crazy. And let's talk about the Magic. Why did the Magic do it?
The Magic do it because the Magic need picks because they have no identity right now. They could lose Aaron Gordon in the upcoming free agency. I know he's an RFA, but there's always that discussion of, what is your core? Right now, Ricky mentioned it earlier that Jonathan Isaac's the only safe guy on this team. Outside of that, I don't know that they have anybody that they really love. So I'm looking at this going, all right, this gives me more ammo to go get players and figure out what exactly am I trying to build as the new general manager of this team. Not new, but like...
Yeah.
growing general manager of this team. So I think that this gives them enough ammo to fully reload a team with a bunch of young players and make sure that they can be built in his image. Because I know that they opted out of the Mario Hezonja contract right before Mario Hezonja was like, "Oh, I get consistent playing time. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll show you what I can do now." Surprise, surprise, he can play basketball, so he's probably leaving for sure. Point guard, they have none. I understand that, but by going back to pick number 16, there are still a couple point guards on the board. I think they can maybe land something in free agency, or maybe they can work out another trade with the Hawks and go get Teague. I'm sorry, not Teague. Schroeder, yeah, years ago. Jesus. They can go get Schroeder, who is disgruntled and doesn't want to play on that team. Mm-hmm. So, this gives them more options moving forward. At the same time, the Suns get the guy they love in DeAndre Ayton, and then the guy for the backcourt pairing of Devin Booker and Trae Young dropping threes from the stratosphere. What? Come on.
Well, Ricky, and I want to throw this to you because we've been consistently, I've been going to Dave for your thoughts on his
I've been attacking
trades.
you a little. Come at me.
What are your thoughts on Dave's trade? Do you think it's working out? Which team do you think wins this trade? Do you think it's even? What's your thoughts?
I like it. I honestly do. And the thing why is when it comes to the Suns, how many years is it just going to be they're a lottery team? We're talking about, the best thing we're talking about the Suns is who they're going to take in the lottery. Who are they going to take in the top 5?
Are they going to get
Suns? They win the lottery. Exactly.
Yeah.
And for the Suns, it does, like Dave said, they're swinging the trade bat of, you know what? We're going to the fences. We're getting DeAndre Ayton to be our big down low. We're going to get Trae Young to be our floor general out there and work with this young team. I mean, on the side of the Magic, it's do you want to basically go full draft-wise of, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're just going to go full-on into the draft, and could
to be fair, they've had good success in the past in the draft. They just can't develop.
And the other
they
thing
cleared
on
out
top
that crew,
of that
though, recently, so there's a chance.
You mentioned Aaron Gordon. The question is, do they then think either this year or next year, moving Vucevic? Do they do a Vucevic
I think
trade?
they're thinking about moving Vucevic already.
For only one
what
person.
Trade to move, though?
Draymond Green straight up.
Jesus Christ. Well, inside joke here if you're new to the Fast Break podcast. God, I love Magic.
That's been going on for forever.
2 years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's something where the Suns, that would be stupid. I mean, just Trae Young, Devin Booker, Josh Jackson.
Why not pull the
Dragon
trigger
Bender.
and
no,
get
I'm
your
saying
guy?
Stupid. Just the thought of it.
Them having that talent
Trae,
together?
Stupid good.
How bad the defense would be. How much space there would be for DeAndre Ayton to work inside. It'd be insane. It's Devin Booker, Trae Young,
they're
Josh
going to
Jackson,
give up about
Bender.
115 a game, but they're going to put up about 114 a game.
And their threes possession, per 100 possession, would be 50. Half the time they'd be shooting threes. It would be absolutely
incredible.
Ridiculous. I don't know.
You still got Josh Jackson. You still got T.J. Warren. You still got come on.
I think it's bold.
Oh, okay.
I think it's very bold.
Do I need to?
You deserve it.
I'm putting mine on.
I think you deserve it.
The reason why I'm putting mine on is this ain't going to happen. That's why I'm tinfoil hatting right now. Here's what's going to happen with the Suns.
I'll rock it.
They'll have to fire Igor for this in 2 years, but you'll figure it out. After the Rockets can still yet to beat the Warriors, their coach will leave and D'Antoni will come back to the Suns because this is a perfect fit.
Yep.
Spread the floor, shoot the three, big guy down low, and DeAndre Ayton, and the
Who can
Suns
stretch the
come
floor still?
back to their home.
Christ.
Yeah, I just had to put on some.
That Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, they
D'Antoni.
all five of them just might sit behind the 3-point.
Exactly. Why even play in the paint? It's a new strategy.
I love how he's got the head on. He's doing the.
How much do you do you think this is happening at all, though, or do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible that they trade up, that they get another top 10 pick.
Well,
yes.
KG told me anything is possible.
In the words KG, I think that this is the year the Suns try to do something special because nobody wants to go there in free agency. They're going to throw a max contract at maybe Clint Capella, maybe DeAndre Jordan. And I don't know. They can fill in the center if they don't believe that if they believe Ayton wants to play the 4, and they don't think Bender or Chris can cover at the 5 and have that double pairing. So I don't know.
Just imagine how this is gonna look on YouTube with you just like curled up in a ball, like don't let the aliens penetrate my mind.
I love it because he's doing that to keep the headphones on his ears.
I was trying.
Man.
Look, they're gonna throw money around. They're trying to make a splash. They're trying to make this the Suns team. Like Ricky said, how long have you been stuck in the middle, at the bottom to the middle?
In the middle.
You gotta do something.
I understand it from the Suns' side. Yes, there's gonna be no defense played. But
You have one of those potentially potent offenses in the same theory of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Well, I've got Dev Booker and Trae Young,
and DeAndre Ayton on the
and
inside.
now I've got DeAndre Ayton in the inside, and
maybe Dragan Bender, who turns into the
and
next
Josh Jackson,
best
who continued to
stretch forward.
improve all last year.
Yeah, I mean, again, I understand from
And
the
TJ Warren
Suns,
come off
it's
the
just-
bench, you know,
I
tons
love-
of disrespect,
and I love
because you
TJ
love
Warren.
him.
But it's one thing where I just don't know with the Magic. Like you have the ability to draft a superstar.
But you're the
And you've
Magic.
and you've
That's
been
the
screwing
problem.
up drafting superstars. You traded all of them.
Yeah,
But
see, they don't screw up in drafting them. That's the point, Sean.
I think it's something, and I forgot the camera was even shutting off, so we're gonna back up for the next picks. But with the Magic, again, you have Trae Young there, and I get it. You're gonna be getting a ton of assets down the road, but
Yeah.
this is a team that I think you just need to finally just get a guy and take another shot and try to get a superstar. And I think Trae Young's that guy. And I think you pair him with Aaron Gordon, you pair him with Jonathan Isaac and Evan Fournier. That could be a pretty potent offense out there.
And Bismack Biyombo.
And Bismack Biyombo as well, because we know that guy is so good offensively. But I think it's something where the Magic, I think you got to play it safe here. And maybe it is playing too safe, trying to take all of those picks. I think just stay at your spot. But I'm also an old man, and I don't like trades. So at the Magic, I understand where you're coming from.
All right.
I understand where you're coming from the Clippers. If Luka's up there, I think the Clippers are going to throw everything that they can
Absolutely.
to get Luka. I just think the Magic stay home and take Trae Young. Let's move on. Past the Magic, past number 6. We're already an hour into the mock draft, and we still have, I think, 4 more picks here.
So
you guys
it's
want
still-
content.
This
We
could
still-
be a 24-hour podcast.
We still have, oh Jesus Christ, we still have more trades to get to as well. But before we do that, again, don't forget to check out patreon.com/MostIO Podcast. If you want to be like Zani, Jake, or any of the great patrons that we have and be on a podcast, check that out, that $10 tier. Also, don't forget to support us at MostIOPodcast.com if you don't want to miss anything, or if you want to buy some t-shirts. We have those up on our store. But let's jump into
53 more picks to go.
pick number 7. Jesus Christ, the way you put it the way you put it that way is it's terrifying. But at 7, I have the Mavericks with the trade with the Bulls. Again, if you missed out on that, the Bulls trade the 7th and 22nd to the Mavericks. Mavericks trade the 5th pick, so it's a 7-22 for 5 swap. The Mavericks have Marvin Bagley. Again, I love the athleticism that he's going to bring to this team. Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley, Wes Math, and Dirk Nowitzki being shooters on the outside, and obviously Dennis Smith Jr. I think that is a very athletic and modern day NBA starting 5 outside of Dirk, but you're not going to get rid of Dirk, and even then Dirk can still shoot it from the outside. I still like this for the Mavericks, and you're still picking up those 2 picks back in the back end of the draft. I think that's going to help you at least help fill out the depth at the forward position and the guard position. So that's why I like the trade for the Mavericks. I don't think it's too much I need to defend there. But Ricky, at 7, what you got? Because I can't even think right now with
to be honest,
the
I'm
war
looking
field
at
of
my
trades you
mock,
have.
and I don't know what I said earlier, but I think something happened with the Google sheet. I think my mock got messed up because I'm looking at Wendell Carter and I'm going, why would they take Wendell Carter if I had them get Bobby Portis in the Bulls trade?
Because then you have Bobby Portis, Wendell Carter, and Gasol.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Gasol, when Gasol leaves?
So here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because of it,
I think you can rock
I'm
that.
going to keep Wendell Carter there because that's what I said earlier. But the other pick I was thinking was Mikal Bridges. Because you know what? You got Porter in that. You can go at Mikal to be your 3. But really for me, like Wendell or Bridges should be the pick here for the Grizzlies. Either whether you think you go Bobby and Wendell kind of together at the 4 then, or if you go with a Mikal to be your 3 and D guy. Because, like I said, Bulls-wise, for this Bulls homerism in the back, if we don't get Porter, we don't get Bamba, I want Mikal Bridges in my Red Bulls uniform so I can buy it day one after the draft is over.
And to be fair, like Wendell Carter, like he's also
He
5,
could also play the 5, yeah.
Like don't discount him as only 4 because he's
And I
definitely
mean,
a 5.
to be honest, I've also been on the train of they should have gotten rid of Marcus Saul and not Fizdale, so there's that as well.
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of that in there. I don't know. I think that
I just looked at it. I'm like, what was I doing? I don't know. We'll have it.
You did have the right there the the Grizzlies going with Colin Sexton. So
Oh,
then
okay.
you flipped it a little bit a while ago. That was June 7th. You had him going with Colin Sexton. That was with a trade with the Bulls, I think. I don't remember what the trade was. But you did have him going Colin Sexton at some point. But now you have him going with Wendell Carter Jr. Again, I think Mikal Bridges could be a nice fit as well, obviously.
Yeah.
On the outside. But again, I mean, if you do have Tyreek Evans, who's going to be around there for a little bit longer, if you do have Michael Porter Jr. who's going to be around there for a while, Marcus Gasol might not be. And if you want to move away from him, Wendell Carter could step in. Again, Wendell Carter, I think, is a guy that is not getting a ton of credit because he's kind of like Mikal Bridges, where he does a lot well. He's a very well-rounded player, but he isn't really a sexy pick. He's not a Michael Porter Jr., who was the number one player out of high school, who could be the next 6'11" shooter from the outside. He's not Marvin Bagley, who's, again, a 6'11" power forward who's a monster. DeAndre Ayton, who's 7'1" with a 7'3" wingspan, who's the most freakish athlete we've seen coming out of the draft and coming out of college in years, or Luka Doncic, who's one of the most experienced players. He's a very good player. And maybe people are scared by that because he's not he might not have the potential to be a superstar, but he has the potential of being a very great player or a very good player. And there's not really
the floor there is pretty high.
Yeah, and then the ceiling there might be limited, but again, he's definitely
Al Horford is always the one you want to hear.
That's what I'm saying, though.
So
I mean, if he turns into Al Horford, pretty damn good pick.
Yeah.
And one of these guys is gonna bust out at some point.
Incredibly,
Dave, let's look at your pick at 7.
Sure.
You, I keep forgetting.
Utah
7.
going.
Utah. Oh yeah,
this is the Utah deal.
This is where Utah comes in. Utah receives this pick number 7 and Cristiano Felicio. Chicago receives pick number 15, Alec Burks, a future first-round pick from the Utah Jazz,
and that one
protected, and turns into future first? No,
yeah, that's where I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know value-wise if they have to give us 2 first to move up because they are eating that Cristiano Felicio contract that we didn't want. That we gave them because we're geniuses with Gar and Pax. So maybe it's just the lotto protect that turns into a future unprotected, or maybe it's another protected something down the road. Either way, the Bulls, like you said earlier, you alluded to, the Marvin Bagley fit next to Lauri Markkanen is not ideal. You end up with 2 offensive bigs. Neither one of them can play a look at inside defense around the rim. So you look around and you're like, all right, we're trading back. Let's look. Let's see what's out there. And I go back to Utah. Utah is a team who would love to have someone who is a high-energy guy who can run the floor, add a ton of offense, because defensively, this team is stout. Like, this is one of the best defensive teams out there. And then him next to Gobert,
And the athleticism you're going to get from him and Don Mitch, and then also the speed that Ricky Rubio, Don Mitch, and Bagley can present.
And then jumping Joe Jingles.
Pretty damn good. And Joe Ingles on the outside. I mean, I understand why Utah does it. But
it's a good fit, and it adds offense to a team that desperately needed it during the playoffs, where they ran through chunks where it was just like, where is the scoring coming from if it's not Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, and we talked about Marvin Bagley possibly coming in and just putting up 19 and 10.
Yeah, so and that's the thing. Like, if he falls here, in mine, he fell here, he has the value of a top 3 guy. So Utah, loving the idea that, we can need a little contract. We'll give you Alec Burks. Like, he didn't pan out exactly how we expected. But now we get a guy who can be a huge addition.
And Ricky, what I want to do is keep Dave's trade in mind and put yourself into your VidCon hotel. All right.
Okay.
You and Dave are there watching the NBA draft.
This would be great.
At this time, we'll be at the reception, the industry.
I'm not going.
Reception.
I'm watching the draft.
You're not going. Say you're watching the draft because that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be, Sean. Don't worry about it.
And you see on the screen, Bulls at 7. They're ready to pick. They trade with Utah. They receive the 7th pick, and they move back to 15. What are your thoughts on that? Well, technically, they're going to be moving back to 21 because of a deal with Dave. Dave has
a secondary deal
back up to 15.
I'm pissed.
But they move back to 21.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed. At that point, if Porter's off the board, if Bamba's off the board, I eat it and I take Mikal Bridges. Because, with this one, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to dump Felicio's contract. You're trying to move some picks.
Felicio.
Yeah, I always say it like that.
That's the nickname.
Felicio, I think, is a little bit different.
Just roll with it.
We are demonetized now that you said Felicio.
The thing that I look at is, I'm looking at that going, why? Why are we doing that?
Because
Why
you
are
don't
we moving
love
back?
anybody else. You wanted Porter, you wanted Bamba, you didn't get it done. You didn't move up. They both got taken. So now I don't have anybody else I love.
Yeah.
So why not go for value? I can get Cap on my team, which is valuable because I can already get a max. Maybe I can make something interesting happen on this team and speed up our timeline. And I'm still getting a first-round talent. And in my mind, I'm going, we can come back.
The future picks are nice, but lotto protected, let's be honest, Jazz will make the playoffs again, so we'll get that
get
pick.
it. Yeah, so we'll get like a 20 through,
The only thing I like, and maybe the reason why I'd be pissed is
Yep.
because I have already been on the side of, like I said, move up for one of the two guys you want. If you haven't done that, you
Yep.
failed, in my mind.
I think it's going to be something huge if the Bulls do move back all the way from outside of the top 10 into the 22nd. It doesn't
Wouldn't
really
be the first time we moved back.
But it doesn't
Was
matter
it the
really.
the Tyler Hansbrough trade we moved
But
back?
I don't think you moved back that far.
No, but we moved back with
I think
the
that's the
Pacers.
biggest thing. Is
that's
again,
right.
knowing how many Bulls fans watch our videos, knowing how how crazy living in Chicago Bulls fans can be. That happens. The United Center might be burned down before the pick's even thrown in. I mean, like
Probably.
that's the thing. It's like, do I understand what you're doing, Dave? Yes. And do I understand how it works for Utah? Hell yes. I think Utah is the winner in this because again, you have now Rudy Gobert, who's one of the best defenders in all of the NBA, still young. You have Donovan Mitchell, who's now a superstar in the NBA, and he looks like one of those guys that's going to be working consistently to get better. He's just one of those guys that's a great personality. And then you're adding Marvin Bagley, who's a guy that again is going to add so much depth to this team. And you really have a big three. Maybe it's not a crazy big three like Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, but these three guys can develop into something that we've never seen before.
Clippers-esque.
Clipper-esque in DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, and Chris Paul. I mean, it could be something like that. So it's interesting what you're doing with Utah there. But again, with the Bulls, it's just like, how much does the future mean when you have the ability to rebuild? You just tanked pretty much to get this
But they
seventh
failed
pick.
the tanking.
They
That's
failed the
point.
tank.
They failed tanking.
They failed the tank.
Just to
Cave-
correct,
caved
because
to the league.
I know when I wrote this, it was like one weird massive trade that I broke up into two. So yeah, it's definitely Chicago to the 21st pick, and then it would be it would be the two futures from the Utah Jazz.
And Chicago ends up moving up, but we'll get into that when we hit it the 11 through 20.
And by the way, I was wrong. The Tyler Hasbro was not a trade. I just wanted him to the Bulls that year. I remember that.
No, great.
That
Thanks
was
for
just
this.
me being wrong.
Psycho T
tradition.
took him.
But I think it's just something where again, there's not going to be there's not it's the fall that they have is too big, and I think that's the biggest thing with the Bulls. Yes, they have the ability to trade back up, but I just don't think it's going to happen unless it is a 3-team trade where they do get that 15th pick right away.
I was like
You're trying to work it
$800,000
out.
off of that.
Yeah.
Literally that close. So that's why I had to be broken into two.
And we will move now into the 8th pick. I do have a trade, so I'm going to throw it out there. 76ers are now picking at 8. They trade with the Cavs. The 76ers receive the 8th pick. The Cavs receive the 10th, 38th, and 39th picks in the second round. 76ers have 6 total picks in this draft. They have the capital to move up. And Cleveland, with it possibly being, the truth that LeBron James is going to be leaving after being swept in the finals, they might be looking to get younger, get players. And the 76ers, their best fit right now on the board is Mikal Bridges. The Cavs are going to be able to get capital. I think it's an easy flip for them. 76ers get the guy that they want, Mikal Bridges. He's going to be a 3-and-D player that's going to be able to be controlled, unlike, like a Rocco or a JJ
Well,
Redick.
Rocco's already locked down for like 4
he
more
is.
years.
But I'm saying, like, again, he's much cheaper than Rocco.
yeah.
And then, JJ Redick, you're not going to have him locked up. Mikal Bridges, 3-and-D guy, possibly one of the best defenders coming out of this draft, at least in the forward position, and he's a good three-point shooter. I think he's a great fit for that 76ers team, pairing him on the outside with Joe, Ben. I think it's, great. And the Cavs, again, with that unknowingness of what LeBron's going to do, you still stay in the top 10, and you get 2 players later in the draft where the 76ers don't really need those players. They'd rather have the guy that's going to quality fit in for
And
them.
the thing I like most about your trade is 2 things. First off, I have Mikal going to the 76ers also, just 2 picks later. But also, your trade hits the 2 biggest questions about each of these teams. One, for the Cavs, it's basically now it's more clear than it was before. After the finals, all right, how do we gear up for post-LeBron? Because, yes, there's a chance. When I say everything's on the table, staying in Cleveland
It's still on the
is
table.
still on the table. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. But do you really think that is going to happen? So do you try to get picks to then say, oh, we're going to get younger? I think of the 76ers, I was thinking mainly doing this full 2-round is if they want to get into the sweepstakes for LeBron James, why am I going to just be drafting and bringing in, they're lower contracts, but why am I going to be drafting, bringing in players? And could we see the 76ers overall in this draft try to ship picks out or take picks together to move up and get 1 pick? So
Well, that's
they're
what I
not
think they're
taking
doing.
a ton of
You're
picks
taking
in.
3 of your
Yeah.
picks to get Mikal Bridges. I think that's the biggest thing with them.
Because they're also in the LeBron deal, which they'll need cap to do
And
that.
I think one thing with the Cavs is not only you're planning for post-LeBron, but also you're not taking that big of a fall where you can have any of the three guys that are from 8 to 10, McHale, Miles, Wendell Carter, even Colin Sexton, Kevin Knox, that fit this team, where I think the best fit for the 76ers is very clear in Mikal Bridges. He's going to bring that 3-and-D for you. I think that's the reason why 76ers do it, because they have the ability to do it. The Cavs want to at least fill out this team, this roster. They might not have the cap to do it if LeBron does come back and take a max. But then again, you're going to have to move some of these players. Rodney Hood might be one of those players. Jordan Clarkson should be one of those players. So if LeBron does stay, you're at least bringing in youth like the Miles Bridges, who I take a little bit later, and then also 2 second-rounders. That one is a drafting stash, I'm pretty sure, and the other one is a guy that's going to step in right away and possibly give you minutes off the bench. I think this just helps both of these teams, because not only of the unknowing future of is LeBron going to stay with one of these teams, but also it's the Cavs need depth, 76ers need another piece.
Another wing.
So
you just say it.
I think that's the thing with the 76ers.
Yep.
At 8, Dave, what do you got going?
At 8, I've got the Cavs staying home and taking Colin Sexton. Add the guy who has the potential to be a stud. Like he has star written on him. We watched what he did at Alabama. He's a one-man wrecking crew. He's like a reckless, better version of Eric Bledsoe at times. Like
He'll go 1-on-5.
He will. I mean, 3-on-5, but still same.
Well,
same
it was him versus 5 in that last few minutes. Let's be honest.
Fair enough. Point being, you go for someone who can kind of fill that void of LeBron James. Worst case scenario. Best case scenario, you go for a primary ball handler to add alongside LeBron James, because he needs help. And why not go for somebody who can actually score? Something that the Cavs literally couldn't do for large portions of the playoffs this year. So, I think all in all, perfect fit for him guard-wise. It fills a need, and it's somebody who would totally be embraced in Cleveland.
Well, that's why for me, I got what you're going with, Dave. I got the point guard. I'm going with a different one, though. And I know yours is off the board because the Suns got bold. Trae Young's the guy, because even if LeBron leaves, you can build around this guy, and he can become a centerpiece for your team.
Yeah.
But also, if LeBron stays, hey, LeBron, we know we couldn't beat Steph, so let's get the guy people are calling the next Steph, who brings not just the three-point shooting, but can also be a facilitator. And we know that you have said you want to play a little bit more off-ball.
And he wants to play with playmakers, too. Yeah. So
let me pair you up with Trae Young, an up-and-coming playmaker.
I think the best scenarios for the Cavs is Trae Young falls to them or Michael Porter Jr. falls to them. Those are the 2 best scenarios, or Mo Bamba. Like, those are the 3 best scenarios for them.
Otherwise, trade back?
No, I think those are just the 3 best scenarios for them.
Does the lack of defense for Trae Young scare you if you're the Cavs? I mean, could you imagine the finals? Steph Curry with even less defense on him?
I mean,
it's terrifying.
But also, I mean, let's just look at it this way. I mean, offensively, like,
he's not going shot for shot with anybody.
I don't know what's gonna, like, the thing is like Jordan Clarkson sucked offensively, defensively. He sucked
everywhere.
So it's something where the
Cavs' game plan wasn't the best either.
No, they were horrible. It was a horrible.
Tyler's not exactly a great coach.
But the thing is like, I don't see where they can get worse. Yes, George Hill is a better defender.
And
than
a very
Trae
good
Young.
shooter still,
yeah.
efficiently.
But I still think you can work him in, and you could find ways to have George Hill on the floor and Trae Young on the floor.
Kyle Korver was run off the floor because he literally couldn't defend.
Run off the floor.
And then he couldn't shoot at the same time, which
wasn't a good defender. I mean, they don't have an answer for Steph, no matter what. I don't think they're going to get an answer here at all.
If you want Colin Sexton, who is available on Ricky's board still, that's my question, is if they're both available, you think the better facilitating and three-point shooting beats out somebody who is a two-way player?
Yes.
And more physical?
I think the physicality is definitely going to play into this, but I think the biggest thing is that you're not going to slow down the Warriors' offense. Yes, at some points they might have bad nights, but I think it's more of Steph having a bad night than being slowed down, being stopped. I don't think Colin Sexton's going to be a Steph Curry stopper.
No,
where I think the offensive gain that Trae Young could bring to the Cavs, I think that's going to be greater than what Colin Sexton could bring defensively. And I think also look at the shooting that Trae Young could bring. If LeBron's creating and Trae Young's wide open, he's not missing those threes. Where Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, K-Love, we're missing those threes consistently. Yeah. And if Trae Young's hitting those shots on the outside, which Colin Sexton really can't do, at least to the level of Trae Young.
Not at an efficient level.
That's going to open up everybody else a little bit more. That's going to put more focus on everybody else. So I think that's the thing where I like Trae Young better in that Cavs scenario than Colin Sexton because he does more offensively for you. And even though defensively, the Warriors were able to dominate the Cavs. The biggest thing also, too, was LeBron wasn't stepping up on KD, and KD was able to do whatever he wants, and that means they're going to have to focus more on KD, which opens up Steph a little bit more. So I think if you're able to have LeBron be a better defender on KD, which he hasn't shown he's been able to do over the past 2 years, that's more of an issue that I think you need to fix rather than, the guy that you're going to draft try to stop Steph Curry. So that's, I think, what it boils down to. Ricky, you talked about yours.
I did. I had the Cavs with Trae Young.
You talked about yours, Dave, didn't you? At 8?
Yes.
I'm trying to forget. This has been the longest podcast ever. So we're going to 9. The Knicks. New York Knicks. Ricky, we'll go to you. The Knicks on the board. Who you got them going with?
I'll be completely honest. I had them go with Kevin Knox. I wanted them to trade up for Trae Young so bad. The thing is with this team, they have nothing that other teams would want. I'm like, oh, Tim Hardaway. No, nobody wants that. Oh, Courtney. No, nobody wants. Like, they have nothing that teams would want.
Disrespectful of Courtney Lee, first of all.
Well, I mean,
I'd take Courtney Lee.
No other team would want Courtney Lee.
Which team is that, Sean?
Over a Trae Young. And that's why I wanted them to trade up, but I had to go with Kevin Knox. Go with the wing. Go with the more developing wing that we can say, hey, we're not going to compete this year unless we get LeBron, but it's not going to happen. I'll take Kevin Knox. We'll develop him. We'll move on to the next draft and wait when KP becomes healthy.
I kind of went along the same line and mindset, but I didn't go with a wing because I think that you look at this Knicks team, they're going to be bad in the upcoming year.
Yeah, they can be bad.
And they have their pick. So I think the thing is, and I talked about this before, I think if they go with Wendell Carter, who's going to be able to fill in for Enes once Enes leaves, and then you pair that next to Kristaps, that is going to then leave you to take a guy like R.J. Barrett if you are number 1 overall. And I know, obviously, being number 1 out of high school means nothing, but R.J. Barrett looks legit.
No, that's sort of the same theory behind my bullshit, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have the 3 pick available, if you have the 3 position open and you have the number 1 pick, you're taking R.J. Barrett.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty damn nice thing.
So is that why you put the tinfoil hat on?
Frank. No, I put it on just because I said the Magic.
Okay.
I was confused.
But I think it's with the Knicks is, again, you're going to have Frank out there. You're going to have KP. Then adding Wendell Carter Jr. That's such a young core. And then you got a guy like R.J. Barrett who's super dynamic. I think that could be absolutely disgusting. I think this is a pick for the future. This isn't the Knicks' pick to solidify, their big 3. This is the pick to at least bolster the 3 and at least give Kristaps and Frank more help. I think that's the biggest thing with the Knicks. What they're doing here is drafting for the future. Yes, Miles Bridges would fit at that 3 spot, but I think you can get a bigger upgrade later on. And also Tim Hardaway can still play that 3 for the next year. So I don't think the 3 is a position they need to address right away. Enes might not even be on the team this year because I think he does have an option. But even if he takes that up,
a player, I believe.
Yeah, even if he takes that up, he might be gone next year. So I think that's the biggest thing with the Knicks is fill in that position with Wendell Carter, who's going to be able to facilitate for Kristaps, for Frank, and then for a guy like R.J. Barrett if you draft him next year. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the Knicks is take a guy that's going to help you down in the future rather than the upcoming year in Kevin Knox. And yeah, Kevin Knox can develop, but again, I don't know if Kevin Knox at 9 is the right slot there. And Dave, you have pretty much the same line. I think you have Wendell Carter going in the next year.
I also have Wendell Carter going there, and I think fantastic fit first year too because, like you said, guess what? Enes is going to be your 4 or 5 out there. You can roll Carter right next to him because KP's out injured. Yeah. As soon as he comes back, guess what? You run Wendell off the bench pairing with either one of them. And then if Enes if Wendell can live up to like crazy expectations, Enes again re-signs with them after for like a long-term contract. You can roll him off the bench, and he can go back to being the dominant scorer off the bench, so you don't miss a note. Like I think that lineup-wise, he is a fantastic fit. I've got concerns about Knox's growth, and will he ever be a elite ball handler? Some of the comments that came out about his play style, where you would see him become less engaged unless he got like physically into it. Like he's got to learn to build up that body a little bit, and get him really motivated. And that's one of the things that I feel like that's why he would fall a bit. And if I'm the Knicks, I'm going, why would I not want the perfect big to pair with Kristaps Porzingis? I want to make sure my best player has all of his gaps covered by our next draft pick. Like it's perfect. And Sean, I agree as far as next year, they're going to be at the top. But my thing was more for the Bulls to do that. You kind of sniped that out from me, but that's fair. That's fair.
I think the thing with Wendell Carter, though, is just that he's safe. He's a very safe pick. where Kevin Knox, it's going to take a lot to develop him, and you're already doing that with Frank.
Frank's
taking a lot to
like,
develop.
that's why I didn't want to stab at another point guard or shooting guard potential person.
Only guy that I like there is Trae Young. If we're talking guard,
if he's available, you would take
Trae
him
Young to
Trae.
the Knicks.
Okay.
And I've talked about this before because Frank, we've seen him already in his first year be a dominant defender.
Yep.
You pair that with the worst defender in Trae Young.
You can kind of cover up for
as
it
a
a
guard.
little bit.
He can cover up.
Or you go the other way.
Nice bang
and
bang.
get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you defend everything.
Possibly.
You don't,
Maybe
you don't score through the guards, but you defend everything.
you build a wall.
Grit and grind, baby. The
Build
Fizz
Build
Day
a fucking wall.
Yes.
Anyways.
Take that for data.
Move on to the final pick. We'll wrap this up in a whole hour and 30 minutes for 1 through 10. Ricky, at number 10, you have the 76ers going with whom?
I'm not going to elaborate much on it because much of it is just why you had him trade up for this.
Yep.
Mikal Bridges. And the whole thing is not only is he a Villanova-Hova guy, so he stays in Philly, but it's a wing that can play defense on the outside
Wangs.
and shoot from the three.
I'm going to just drop a...
I don't know why I said it like that.
Three.
I don't know. I was elaborating there, and I was like, oh, this is not going to end
Before
well.
that, I was just about to say ditto, but then he dropped that 3.
Or,
So I feel like I
we're
gotta
gonna drop
explain
some
myself.
trays on you.
I feel like I explained myself for picking Mikal here as well then, because I also have the 76ers taking Mikal Bridges. It's what we saw in the playoffs last year. It's a reactionary pick. I think that the biggest takeaway from their series against the Celtics was that teams who are switchable, who have multiple guys between 6'5" or 6'4" and like 6'9", they just don't have enough answers to that. When they switch around, Robert Covington is an extremely streaky shooter. Yes, as the season averages out, but during playoff games, when it goes crucial and he goes cold, you need someone else who can step up and take that 3 and demantle from him. And what better person than Mikal Bridges?
Take the mantle from him.
I think the one thing that I looked at is obviously, again, I think Mikal Bridges fits perfectly for 76ers. That's why they trade up and get him. And that leaves the Cavs at 10, taking Miles Bridges from Michigan State. And I think it's an absolute fantastic fit. Miles Bridges was a guy I was huge on last year.
Yes.
And the thing is that there's other players that always catch your eye, but Miles Bridges got better. And that's the thing is he took a year back. At Miles Bridges, he became a better shooter. I mean, at the line, he became more efficient, 85%. He didn't improve his three-point percentage, but also he still stayed around the same, which is 36%. And I think that's
Not
still
too
going to
bad.
continue, where he's now becoming a better shooter overall. I think that's going to continue. And his body's great. He's a guy that's still a freak athlete. He's a guy that you can use his big body and drive. He's a great athletic guy who can really attack the rim. I think one thing, too, is that he's also a guy that might be able to bring defensive versatility to this Cavs team. And if LeBron stays, that's so crucial. Where on switches, you're not going to worry too much like, oh, well, fuck, now we got K-Love on KD. Miles Bridges might not be great right away as a rookie, but I think he might be able to, at least down the road, bring more defensive versatility to this team. I think offensively, he's a great addition. I think offensively, and he can develop into a great defender. If LeBron leaves, I think Miles Bridges could turn into a guy that really could be a possible number one. I think he's a guy that, again, he improved this season. He was a leader this season. And I think the biggest thing is that he is very well-rounded offensively. Not a great passer, but I think that's the only downfall that he does have. Not a great shot creator for himself, so he won't be in a ton of ISO, but if he's playing with LeBron James, that's not going to matter too much. And then defense, he does enough to at least help this Cavs team if LeBron's there. And then if he is the only solo guy on this Cavs team, he's going to have time to develop that shot creation, work in ISO, and then also it's going to depend on how this team's going to change if LeBron leaves. We don't really know. I think Miles Bridges is the best available player to really help this team going forward.
Now, I've got a stupid question for you.
Yes.
Isn't he just like a little bit smaller Jeff Green?
Is he as inconsistent as Jeff Green?
Well, I think one thing is
like body shape, what he can do on the court for you.
I think it's pretty fair.
That's the only thing I was thinking was like.
I know Jeff Green has the hilarious consistency.
Is he going to be more consistent than Jeff Green?
But at the same time, Jeff Green, when on, can really give you a lot. So that's the thing. Like when I see him, it's hard for me to go like that's a guy who can be a one on my team and lead us because he's like. He's a little small. He's small to be the 4. He's a little big for the 3, but I think he fits a 3. And then it's, what can he bring to my team every day? Because we saw him. I asked the question, did he get better? Because statistically, Advanced stats, yes, but on paper, if you look at like his contributions to Michigan State this year, the numbers don't jump out at you. It doesn't make you go, wow, that guy is being a leader.
I mean, he still averaged 17 points per game, 7 boards, had about 2.7 assists per game, shot 46% from the field, 36% from 3, and 85% from the line. I mean, he hit big shots. He had a big one, I think, against Wisconsin. These are the final thoughts, too. I think the camera's going to die on a little bit, too, and we'll move into 11 through 20. But I think Miles Bridges can be a guy that has put everything on his shoulders before on a team and prove that he can help his team. Yes, they didn't go all the way in either of his years, but and they choked against Syracuse, but again, I think it was something there. There's something there with Miles Bridges where I think he has the body, and I think Jeff Green isn't really a knock, because if he's consistent Jeff Green and he's healthy Jeff Green, Jeff Green was a guy that's consistently gotten looks in the NBA because of his talent. So I think that this is a guy that Miles Bridges, if he turns into a consistent Jeff Green, it's going to be an awesome pick, because he's a guy that really fits the NBA. He's an athletic guy. He could shoot from the outside. And if he's able to at least use that athleticism that he does have and just create a nice first step and a nice crossover and just shake free from a bit, he might be able to turn into a guy that really develops a nice mid-range game to pair with a pretty decent outside game. And he's already a great finisher. He's already great attacking the rim. So if he's going and getting hacked, he's an 85% free throw shooter from the line. I think Miles Bridges can be a dynamic player offensively, and he does enough defensively. I think the Cavs, especially if LeBron's leaving, that could really help them out. And obviously the 2 picks that they pick up in the 76ers trade, that's going to be something that is beneficial to them as well. Let us know your thoughts on the 1 through 10 segment. What picks surprised you, what trades surprised you. Let us know in the comments down below.